It's been 3 years since it happened, but the memory of that night is carved into my mind like a scar. Even now, when I try to sleep in unfamiliar places, I sometimes wake up to the faint sound of three knocks. I was traveling for work, exhausted from a delayed flight and a long drive. By the time I reached the hotel, it was almost midnight. It was an old building, the kind that once might have been glamorous but now felt tired, forgotten, and slightly decayed. The neon sign outside flickered weakly, spelling the hotel's name in half-lit letters. Inside, the air smelled of dust and stale perfume. The receptionist, a thin woman with dark circles under her eyes, greeted me with a forced smile. She slid the key across the counter, her hand trembling slightly. "Room 313, she said. Then, lowering her voice, she leaned closer. "Whatever happens tonight, do not leave your room after midnight. And if you hear knocking, don't answer." I blinked at her, unsure if she was joking, but her pale face suggested otherwise. Before I could ask, she looked away and busied herself with papers. I laughed nervously, brushing it off as some weird local superstition. But as I walked down the long hallway, I noticed something unsettling. Every other room had modern electronic locks. Only room 313 had an old-fashioned brass keyhole, scratched and worn as if countless desperate hands had clawed at it. The room itself was cold, much colder than the corridor. The wallpaper peeled in places, the carpet smelled faintly of mildew, and the only light came from a dim, flickering lamp on the nightstand. Still, I was too tired to care. I showered quickly and collapsed onto the bed. Some time later, I woke to a sound. At first, I thought it was part of a dream, the faintest scratching noise like fingernails dragging slowly across wood. Then came the knocking. Knock. Pause. Knock. Pause. Knock. The sound echoed unnaturally, as though it came from inside the door itself. My stomach dropped. The receptionist's warning came rushing back to me. I told myself it was just another guest, maybe drunk, maybe confused. But when the doorknob began to turn, my breath caught in my throat. Slowly, back and forth, like someone was testing if it was locked. Then I heard it, a voice, whispering from the other side of the door. "Let me in. I'm so cold." The voice wasn't right. It was too sharp, metallic, like steel scraping against glass. My phone lay beside me. I grabbed it, turning on the flashlight. That's when I noticed something I hadn't seen earlier. Carved deep into the inside of the wooden door, barely visible in the weak light, were the words, "Don't open." My blood ran cold. The knocking stopped. Silence. I sat frozen, every nerve in my body screaming. Then from the closet came the same scratching sound. My flashlight beam shook as I turned toward it. The closet door was slightly ajar. "No," I whispered, my voice trembling. "No, no, no." I forced myself to step closer. The air around the closet was icy, colder than the rest of the room. A foul, rotting smell seeped out from the darkness inside. My hand shook violently as I pushed the door shut and jammed the desk chair against it. I staggered back, clutching my phone like a weapon. That's when I felt it, warm breath against my ear, and a whisper so close it made my skin crawl. "I'm already here." I spun around, but the room was empty. My flashlight beam danced across peeling wallpaper and faded curtains. Nothing. And yet the voice lingered, echoing inside my skull. Hours crawled by. I must have drifted into unconsciousness at some point because the next thing I remember is waking on the floor, the morning sunlight filtering weakly through the curtains. But the closet door, It was wide open. The chair I had shoved against it was neatly placed back at the desk, and on the wall carved deep into the plaster were long scratch marks leading from the closet to the bed where I had been lying. I fled. I didn't even pack. I grabbed my bag, bolted down the hallway, and nearly tripped over myself at the reception desk. The same woman was there. She looked at me with tired, pitying eyes. "You're lucky," she said softly. "Most guests in 313 don't wake up at all." I never returned to that hotel, but the story doesn't end there. Because sometimes, too often, I wake in the middle of the night, in different hotels, different cities, always to the same sound. Knock, pause, knock, pause, knock. And then the whisper, as though carried across miles and walls and time itself. "Let me in." I know one night I'll open the door.